Hey friends, I'm Meliora. Welcome. Happy New Year. I hope that your winter season is better. If it was great, I hope it's getting even better. If it was not as you hoped it would be, I hope it will get better and better with every single day. I want to talk about winter fragrances and kind of give you a overview of my absolute favorites, the winter fragrances that I wear. Like, I talked about them to death on both of my channels. I wore them a lot, but I'm ready to kind of give them a bit of a break and embrace and kind of start wearing a lot the newer fragrances that I got for winter last year, and maybe I think one of them just got here. So we're gonna start from winter citruses. So winter orange, all that kind of good stuff. So when we're talking about winter shippers and winter, not necessarily shippers, but more like orangey, mandarin, all kinds of winter citrusy perfumes, I used to rely pretty heavily on the Hermes Eau de Merveille. Oddly enough, I had an elixir version that I got Eau de Merveille that is more orangey, and at some point I just lost my love for it. I don't know if it ever happened with you before, please let me know. Just like I woke up one day and I couldn't stand it. It smelled synthetic to me. It was very prominent, and it kind of was annoying me how bright and long lasting it was, even though that's the exact quality that I loved the day before and many months before. So I think I gifted the elixir, I sold off the Eau de Merveilles, and I got myself 2 new winter citrus options to wear a lot this year. This I'm more familiar with, I just haven't really haven't worn it enough. So I'm basically planning to bathe myself in this. This is Jo Malone Orange Bitters Cologne. I got it in, I think it's a limited edition packaging, otherwise the bottles I think more or less are all the same. In very direct relevance to its name, Orange Bitters, it does smell of orange. I wouldn't say the smell of orange bitters, it's more like of orange liqueurs, maybe Grand Marnier or Belvedere, and like there's like the name of them is a legion. I really enjoy it. It's very easy to wear. It's just boozy enough to make it a little bit more spicy and interesting, but it is not really a boozy perfume. If you're interested, I can give you like a whole set of incredibly cool, rich, dark, liquorish kind of perfumes, the ones that contain a lot of references to all kinds of cocktails and and liquors. This one is kind of like a child play on that theme. The big minus of this perfume to me is that it lasts maybe 15 minutes. Afterwards, it's just something really unrecognizable, just a very generic amberish dry down that is almost it's almost impossible to discern it from like background noise of all other smells in the room. So longevity is like 0 out of 10. The concept factor, I would say 10 out of 10. The price, I would say 3 out of 10. I got it from Mercari secondhand, so I think I still paid like more than it's worth. I think I paid like maybe $60. Giving 15-minute longevity, I can't quite recommend it, but if you are into body sprays, if you do love Jo Malone and generally get along with them, this is a very special winter-centric option for you to consider. So for me, it's gonna be like every day, all day kind of bathing option. I'm very trigger happy with this one. And the new one that I'm gonna be trying to wear and kind of like hopefully fall in love with, this Hermes Eau de Mandarine Ambre by Hermes. This was an exchange from a subscriber of mine. I think I swapped it for Coco Mademoiselle. I think I've been circling around Chanel Coco Mademoiselle for at least 2 years before I got 50 ml, or I actually don't remember, I think it was 50 ml. And then I probably wore it for 2 weeks and I was done. I was just so done with it. So it's been just taking place on my shelf, and I was overjoyed when Galina offered me to swap one for one. So this is another very wintry orange option. The orange here plays a supportive role to amber. It has very soft, woody presence. Amber here is not too fruity, and the orange here is more reminiscent to me of a kind of the skin of orange rather than the orange itself, maybe orange or mandarin oil more so. So two very beautiful winter citrus options that I'm very excited to wear a lot. I'm like, ugh, so excited. Okay, I'm gonna just jump right into like the heavy stuff for the change of pace. Two all-time favorites that to me are basically twins: Oscar de la Renta Midnight Amber and Elizabeth Arden Fifth Avenue Royale. I'm very proud of my discovery of these probably over 2 or 3 years ago, when there was not a single review of this perfume on the like out there. I got it, I fell in love with it, and I think at this point I basically brought it to Russian speaking market, if I may say so myself. Cheapies, beautiful, dark, kind of oud rosy perfumes that are so wearable that even if you absolutely loathe oud and you're very cautious about heavy, it's not even gourmand, it's more like, it's like also like it's a very balsamic, rose oudy, not as spicy, I would say. Like it's just, it really makes me think of all of those super sweet 40% alcohol liquors that you add like in small doses to make various cocktails. This is what this is. This is the most wearable kind of homage to Arabic style of blending fragrances that's done in a very European nose-friendly fashion. This is what I would suggest you start with if it's not really your territory of comfort. If you are a big fan of ouds and rose ouds and all that good stuff, this would be like a daytime wearable option or something that you just can like spray without thinking. Very affordable, probably $20-$30 each. I find them to be so close that most of the time I don't really feel any difference where I wear this or this, and I'm down like that much here and probably this much here. If anything, I find that the packaging of Oscar de la Renta Midnight Amber is a little bit more stylish, but it kind of depends on what you prefer. And this is a little bit more smoky in its dry down, like when the whole story is over and you're just smelling the leftovers, so to speak, of the fragrance. This is a little bit more woody and smoky, and Elizabeth Arden Fifth Avenue Royale is a little bit more floral, more in accordance to the classic way that a lot of Elizabeth Arden fragrances smell. These are two old favorites. I wore them just probably like 10 ml per month. And at this point, I love them still. I have no intention of selling them because I would be buying them again. But I'm gonna give them a little bit of a rest. And the new kid in town is gonna be Coeur by Meliora. Meliora has its kind of like staples, the fragrances that are based around one accord or one particular concept. They're very easy to comprehend, yet they're not banal. Like every time Meliora takes a rather predictable accord, a note, let's say here we have leather, and they make another beautiful purple bottle out of it, it always has a little bit of a twist while still maintaining a very much user-friendly, wearable comfort. It brings a lot of comfort when you wear them, though they do also make you think differently about the same, be it leather, be it jasmine, be it rose, and yada yada yada. So the leather here, for me, is not really leather. I find this to be more of a hookah bar kind of smell in the way that all of those cherry / prune kind of flavors that you add to tobacco, the way that they combine themselves with smoke, with tobacco, with the ambiance of places with hookah bars. So to me, this is like a hookah bar in the bottle. I'm very excited to find leather here, though I don't really. I would probably go for other fragrances if I was super interested in having a leathery, like a leather-centric perfume. But this, to me, is perfect for winter. Perfect in such a way that I doubt that I would wear it outside of a cold season at all. So I'm very excited to give it a go and see if I fall in love with it, because so far it's very intriguing, but it might be, like, my concern is that it might be too heavy for me. Now let's talk about spices. When it comes to heavy spices, spices that are supported by either ouds or rich florals or musks to that matter, I have two options. One older, but I haven't worn it that much, so I'm still excited to wear it this season. This is Rouge Incognito. The black line by Rouge is just spectacular. It's one of the niche perfume lines that impressed me to the point that I just placed an order through a friend of mine in Russia, and I don't even know how to recover those bottles, but I got 4 more. It's incredible. The concept, the execution, the profiling, the kind of the quality and the uniqueness factor of these perfumes. I just love all of those dark, scary, kind of northern Germany style fairy tales, like Grimm Brothers and Andersen, and like in their original forms, not in the Disney watered down sugary forms, but like how the fairy tales used to be when it was like actually really scary. I still can't believe that like that's what was told to kids for generations. Anyway, this is it. This is this dark magic. This is the mystery that is hiding in the dark, cold forest at night. Love it, love it, love it. I used to perceive it as mostly black pepper centric with sensual musks perfume, but the more I wear it, the more I feel kind of the woody animalic musky notes that are very dark and very sweet. Yet this is not a gourmand either. I still love the opening with the peppers and I think it's either paprika or like a couple of peppers there. Love it. But the new kid in town that I really want to get to know very, very well is Amouage Honor. This is edition for men, but they're all unisex. It kind of just depends what you prefer, accord and notes wise. This to me is a contender for an ideal black pepper or like hot, dry, spicy perfume. Prize. I think it's a award-worthy kind of perfume. I'm very excited to wear it more and see how friendly I can make it, because it tend to go a little bit brutal from the first go, and all Amouages tend to be, I mean, they really force themselves on you in many ways, and you really have to either tame them or rather they tame you, and you kind of accept that the perfume wears you rather than you wearing the perfume. Some people like that kind of concept, some people don't. I'm more cautious when it comes to Amouages, but I'm very excited to wear this a lot. Let me know what other Amouages do you have in your collection, and what do you think about specifically their men colognes or like their men fragrances for men. Because I have, I think, up to 5 decants in this full-size bottle, and they seem so similar to me that I'm struggling to like find a considerable difference when I wear them. So this is something that I really want to explore, because I'm like a big fan of dry spices. I'm very much in love with things like this. So I find that Amouage for men suits me better most of the time than Amouage releases for women, because those tend to be just syrupy sweet. They just tend to be so overpowering that these are too, but these are powerful to me. And Amouage for women is overpowering to me. I'm kind of curious to learn what you guys think of them, because I know that they are changing their artistic direction. and their new releases have been noticeably different in the way they're blended. We'll see. And softer spices, something that you wear more of like a comforting blanket. Soft spices are my comfort zone. If you haven't seen my perfume nudes video yet, please go watch it, because I really expand on that notion there in depth. So when it comes to the known favorites, the ones that I wore to death, I used up 2 or 3 travel sizes of Etat Libre d'Orange like this, which was inspired, kind of made in artistic collaboration with Tilda Swinton, my spirit, my role model, my spirit animal, if you wish. So this is very spicy, but kind of like kitchen type of spices. It's like very warm ginger, maybe some other stuff, and the sweet, soothing, caramelized pumpkin. Thanksgiving in a bottle for many people. I loved it. I love it all the way through autumn, like early autumn, late autumn, winter, even early spring. Absolutely adore it, but I wore it so many times that I kind of like, I'm ready to give it some rest before I get into it again. And Feels the Dew, which is dedicated to the culture of Philippines. If you have any relationship with Philippines, you might be interested in just like testing how well did they get it. Did they really get it? It's like the coconut sticky rice, it's a myriad of other spices. This is what probably is pretty much a paragon of soft, somewhat gourmand spices. I love it so much. I can bathe in it, and yet it does have a it has a very respectable longevity on me, whether I spray a lot or little. Also, wore it a lot. So I'm willing to give it some rest and indulge in my new bottle of Hemingway by Histoire de Perfumes. This is $18.99, dedicated to Hemingway, and basically in the best Histoire de Perfumes fashion, it has somewhat dry hay in a way, or like it's like a dried flower base on which they enveloped somewhat a fougere opening with, I find, like cinnamon, maybe again a little bit of pink pepper. It's just the spices here are so soothing and almost minty. It has this kind of bergamote feeling, you know, like when you drink Earl Grey or when you add mint to your tea. It's both refreshing and soothing, kind of spicy. I think I didn't really use up so much myself. I think somebody asked me for a decant, but otherwise I'm super excited to just, again, bathe in it. This is something that I can build up to a point of it being way more peppery and spicy, but if I wear it in like 1 or 2 sprays, it's just such a soothing, barely there but very comforting experience. $18.99 Hemingway is just where it's at for me this winter. I'm very excited to wear it a lot. And the last 5th category of the winter fragrances, I've been like trying to figure out how to limit myself, because a lot of sweet gourmands, a lot of fragrances can be worn in winter, and a lot of the connotations around tobacco and levers and all that good stuff. But to be honest, I wanted to show you only the perfumes that have power, have like true, they're a true gravitational force for me. And these are the 5 families here. So the 5th one is gonna be a winter rose. I've been on the search for the best Victorian rose, best morning rose, best gothic rose for over 2 years now, and I think I'm finally narrowing it down, because I got over 24 different samples and decants of niche and like hyperluxe and designer rose perfumes, and I think I'm getting close. I'm finally getting close to really, first of all, having a confident feeling that I sampled the market, and having an eye out for a few true favorites. One of the true favorites that I've used quite a bit is Elie Saab, their boutique line Essence Number 1 Rose. This is basically a spicier rose, the rose that is both gourmand but very delicate gourmand. It's more of a rose souffle rather than a rose jam, or a rose liqueur. So a rose souffle with soft spices sprinkled here and there. Lovely perfume. I wore it a lot and I'm ready to give it a little bit of a rest. And this winter is going to be between the two niche houses that have a devoted army of lovers. One is Tiziano Terenzi, another is Serge Lutens. The Tiziano Terenzi issued a rose-centric fragrance that is dedicated to this purpura, dark red, burgundy red rose, and it's called Purpora. I got it from Perfume.com for maybe $11 to $14, which is a very, very good price for a fragrance that costs, gosh, I'm afraid of even naming the price, $200, $300. Don't quote me on that, but it's like very expensive. So here I got 8 ml of Purpora, and this is what you imagine like a dark, bloody red rose would smell like. It's also spicy, and it has the signature Tiziano Terenzi musks, which I'm not a big fan of, but a lot of people are. The Tiziano Terenzi musks, if you're like kind of trying to consider what kind of signature musks you really want to have in your life, Tiziano Terenzi musks are somewhere between Tom Ford's and Frederic Malle's musks and Juliette Has a Gun. Juliette Has a Gun musks are very sour and grabby. They're kind of like zesty, they kind of grab your skin. Tiziano Terenzi can be very much the same way. They can be even sour. But in their gourmands, the Tiziano Terenzi really walks a fine line of kind of pineapple-like sour musks and boiled sweet musks that you can find in Tom Ford. To a certain degree, Narciso Rodriguez, though, for me, Narciso Rodriguez makes the best sweet musks on the market. To me, it beats Ford, it beats Keelan, and beats them all. Anyway, so if you're really into grabby, powerful, either fruity or kind of gourmand musks, Tiziano Terenzi might be your man. And they last forever. They do. 2 sprays will do it for the day. The Serge Lutens is a very different story. They're very hard to predict. And here I have Le Fil de Berlin. Serge Lutens has several roses, but this is probably arguably the most popular among all of them. So the Maid of Berlin, Le Fil de Berlin. Both of them kind of try to grab the same concept of that one big velvety dark red rose. But even though you would think you cannot make 2 different perfumes out of a very narrow concept like this, they managed to do so. I find that Tiziano Terenzi is a little spicier and muskier, and Serge Lutens' La Fil de Berlin is more jammy, somewhat syrupy, kind of just sweeter, just more sugary at the beginning, but then it gets more into Bulgarian rose oil. If you haven't ever tried a Bulgarian rose oil, you should buy like a little vial just to have it as a olfactory reference, because I would say half of the perfume market historically, then, now, and in the future will reference that particular profile. So this to me is a very Bulgarian rose, and unfortunately I'm like traumatized from my childhood from having too much of it around, and I'm not a big fan. But not because it's not beautiful, it's just, I just had too much exposure to it at some point, so I'm more interested in other forms of dark, gourmand, or spicy rose fragrances. Nevertheless, the jammy, syrupy opening I find oddly seductive. if you've been with me for any period of time, you know the edible gourmands, the syrupy, caramelly kind of fragrances are not my thing. But this, either I'm so partial to Serge de Tange and I'm just like, you know, blinded by their reputation and kind of the brand value, or maybe that could be the first Bulgarian rose, syrupy rose perfume that I actually like and wear. We'll see. I am super excited to test drive these two. I dare say I'll try to use them up this winter. Yeah, I'll take a stab at it. I'll try to pan these two, because I'm basically declaring a war on all of my decants. I have way too many. I have probably hundreds upon hundreds, and it's time. It's time to start using things up and either making, you know, final decision, getting a bottle or letting it go, you know. And to be honest, I'm all for decants. I said that, and I'll say it again and again. 8 ml will allow you to like try it, fall in love with it, have a beautiful love affair, like, you know, raise children together, send them to college, fall out of love, get divorced and fall in love again if you want to. So this is actually, like, I would say 8 to 10 ml. I would qualify it as a full-size bottle experience, because a lot of people don't even wear more than 10 or 15 ml of one perfume before they move on to something else, before they get bored and want to move on to something else. So this might be all they really need to enjoy these fragrances, to understand them fully, to love them, and maybe to let them go. It's hard for me to imagine that I will fall in love with something and not get a full-size bottle, but we'll see. We'll see. All right, so these are the fragrances, like the absolute cult favorites in my personal life when it comes to wintry perfumes, in terms of the 5 families that I showed you, and also, you know, a few newbies that I'm very excited to wear and report to you later how it went. Did they really measure up to my all-time favorites? Thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to hear about your winter favorites. What are the old-timies that you will just use again and again and again, and what are the newbies that you're very excited to test drive this winter? Please let me know in the comments below. Please subscribe, like and share if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.